Interior Margaret's apartment, late afternoon. The hiss of an iron cuts through the silence. Margaret Thompson, 68, carefully presses the creases from a navy blue dress patterned with tiny flowers. Her hands move with slow, practiced precision, the ritual of a woman who takes dignity seriously. This dress matters. It's the one her son James once said made her look distinguished. Tonight she is going to his house for dinner with him and his wife, Cassandra. Margaret hums faintly, trying to suppress the flutter in her chest. She has been lonely for years, ever since her husband passed. These dinners, Cassandra insisting she come over often, have been a balm. Her phone buzzes. The screen glows. Robert Mitchell, her attorney, a man who has never once texted her after hours in 15 years. The message is short, urgent. Call me immediately. Her smile fades. She sets the iron down, the hiss dying. Picks up the phone. Dials. Robert, VO. Tense, controlled. Margaret, you need to sit down. Margaret frowns, lowering herself onto the edge of the bed. The yellow walls of her small rental apartment, once painted to cheer her spirits, now feel unbearably loud. Margaret? Robert? What is it? Is it about the will? No, this is about Cassandra. The sound of her daughter-in-law's name makes Margaret's breath hitch. What about her? A long pause. Robert VO. She's not who she says she is. The words hang, heavy, poisonous. What do you mean? I mean, Cassandra Williams Thompson doesn't exist. Margaret lets out a strained laugh, nervous. That's ridiculous. I've known her for over a year. She's a nurse at Children's Hospital. She grew up in Colorado, lost her parents in a car accident when she was 25. Robert VO. There's no record of her ever working there. No Cassandra Williams in the system. Margaret, the woman your son married is living under a false identity. The dress slips from her lap to the floor. Margaret stares blankly at the maple tree outside her window, the bird feeder swaying gently. The ordinary view clashes cruelly with the extraordinary words. That's impossible. Robert VO. I wish it were. My investigator uncovered this while updating your insurance policy. Margaret, listen to me carefully. Go to your son's house immediately. Don't call, don't warn them, just go. Exterior, highway, early evening. Margaret grips the steering wheel of her sedan. Her knuckles are white. The road stretches endlessly ahead, but her thoughts spiral faster than her tires. Images flood her mind. Cassandra's affectionate hugs, her sweet Mom Thompson nickname, and her warm insistence that Margaret wasn't alone anymore. And the request, the suggestion that Margaret sell her house of 37 years to help fund their wedding. Her beloved home, gone. Her savings, handed over. All because Cassandra convinced her it was the right thing to do. Now Robert's words echo mercilessly. She doesn't exist. Exterior, James's house, night. The house gleams with suburban perfection. Pristine lawn, designer landscaping, lights glowing warmly in the windows. Margaret pulls into the driveway, parking behind James's sleek BMW. From her car, she watches them through the front window. James at the counter, chopping vegetables. Cassandra, radiant, moving gracefully in the kitchen, laughing at something James says. To any passerby, they look like the perfect young couple. But Margaret sees it now. The performance. The too perfect smile. The way Cassandra leans into every gesture, every glance. Her stomach churns. Robert was right. Interior, James's house, living room, night. The door opens. James, 42, tall, handsome, pulls his mother into a warm embrace. His smile is bright, but doesn't reach his tired eyes. "Mom, perfect timing. Cassie's making her famous lasagna." Margaret hugs him tightly, inhaling the scent of her little boy who's no longer little. She notices. His shoulders are slumped, his face weary. "Everything all right, honey?" "Just work stuff. You know how it is." The words are light, but the weight behind them is heavy. Then Cassandra appears, beautiful. Blonde hair, immaculate, designer jeans under a floral apron. She beams. "Mom, Thompson, I'm so glad you could make it." She kisses Margaret on the cheek. Warm, affectionate, the same way she always has. And for a fleeting second, Margaret doubts everything. But then Cassandra speaks again. "Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. Can I get you wine? I opened the Pinot Grigio you brought last time." Margaret watches her glide back to the kitchen. Her eyes flicker around the room. The decor is flawless, modern, magazine-worthy. But something is missing. James. Not a single trace of his personality remains. No football memorabilia, no heirlooms, not even the antique clock that his father left him. It is Cassandra's house. Entirely. Interior, James's office, later. The door clicks shut. The one room still carrying remnants of James's life. Bookshelves, framed diplomas, a desk with clutter. Margaret turns to her son, her voice urgent but steady. "James, how much do you really know about Cassandra's past?" James freezes. Relief flashes in his eyes, as though someone finally dared to ask the question gnawing at him. She grew up in Denver. Parents died in a crash. Worked her way through nursing school. Moved here 3 years ago. "Have you ever seen pictures? Family? Graduation?" James falters. "She said, it's too painful." Margaret softens. "Honey, my attorney had her investigated. There's no record of her ever working there. No Cassandra Williams." The color drains from his face. That's impossible. She talks about her patients. She gets calls from the hospital." "When have you seen those calls?" James stammers. The realization creeps in. "She takes them in the other room, says confidentiality." Margaret nods grimly. "Have you ever met her colleagues?" Silence. James's breath shudders. "Mom, you're scaring me." "I'm scared too, but there's more." A kitchen timer dings. Cassie OS. "Dinner's ready." James looks at his mother with desperate eyes. "What do I do?" "We go eat dinner and we act normal." But as they step into the hall, Margaret sees Cassandra through the kitchen doorway. She's not smiling. She's not bustling cheerfully. She is standing utterly still, watching them. Her eyes are cold, calculating. And Margaret knows with a sinking certainty, she heard everything. Interior, dining room, night. The table is set with Margaret's own wedding gift. Fine china, cloth napkins, fresh flowers, lasagna steams in the center. Cassandra serves them with practiced warmth, but the mask is cracking. Margaret sees it now. The tension in her jaw, the tightness around her eyes. "James has been so stressed. I thought a nice family dinner would help." Margaret forces a smile, her voice like glass. "This looks wonderful, dear." They eat. Forks scrape plates. The silence is heavy. Finally, Margaret speaks. "So, Cassie, it's been nearly a year since I sold the house.
Funny thing, I just realized I never quite knew where all that money went. James pauses mid-bite. Cassandra's fork freezes. I gave you $50,000. The wedding cost $47,000. Where's the other 15? The room stills. Cassandra swallows hard. There were other expenses. The honeymoon. House improvements. My student loan payments. Margaret tilts her head. Student loans? I thought you said you worked your way through school. James' eyes dart to his wife, confused. Cassie? When we applied for the mortgage, you said you had no debt. For the briefest moment, the mask slips. Panic. Cold. Sharp panic. Then it's gone. I was embarrassed. I didn't want you to think less of me.
Her real name is Catherine Blackwood. She's been married before, twice. Both times ended when her husbands discovered she was stealing from them. She's a professional con artist. James' hands shake as he flips through documents, bank transfers, false IDs, old marriage records. No, this can't. From the kitchen, silence. Too much silence. Margaret freezes. Margaret. James, where's her purse? On the counter, by the door. They hurry to the kitchen. Empty. The back door is ajar. Curtains flutter in the night breeze. James spins. Her purse is gone. Margaret looks out the door. At the far edge of the yard, a figure darts into the shadows. She's running. James bolts to the front window. Her car's still here. Margaret grips his arm, her voice sharp, commanding. Tell Robert and then call the police. James' gaze falls to the table. Cassandra's phone lies abandoned beside her plate. He picks it up. It isn't locked. On the screen, text messages. The old lady's getting suspicious. How much longer do I need to keep this up? Need extraction plan now. Margaret exhales, her voice low. Honey, sit down. James stares at her, eyes wide with betrayal, fear, rage. She was planning to leave anyway, but not before she took everything. James frowns. But I handle our finances. I've never seen any loan payments. Cassandra's hands tremble. She pushes back from the table. I need to check dessert. She disappears into the kitchen. Margaret leans close to her son, voice low. Honey, there's something you need to see. She reaches into her bag, pulls out a folder, slides it onto the table. James opens it. His face drains of color. The phone's cold light washes James's face a sickly blue. On screen, the messages glare back. Marcus, the old lady is getting suspicious. How much longer? Cassie, need extraction plan now. Phoenix account needs time. After dinner tonight. Margaret steadies herself with a palm flat on the tablecloth. Her china, her flowers, her gift used to stage a performance she never auditioned for. Margaret, call Robert, then the police. James doesn't move. His eyes are fixed on his life, reduced to a thread of texts and a half-eaten plate of lasagna. Margaret, James. He blinks, nods, dials. Interior James's kitchen, continuous. The back door sighs in the breeze. Curtains breathe like lungs. Margaret steps to the doorframe, peering into the darkness of the yard. Fence, hedges, the black seam of night beyond. Nothing moves. A voice answers on speaker. Margaret? Margaret. She ran. Robert. Listen carefully. Do not leave the house. Call the police now. Keep everything exactly where it is. Phone, documents, don't touch more than you have to. James has already tapped 911. His hands shake. James. Into phone. My wife. He stops, swallows.
A woman I married just fled our home. Fraud. Identity theft. Please. Our address is. Margaret watches him recite the numbers he grew up with, her voice becoming the quiet anchor that won't move even if the ground does. Exterior. James's house. Night. Red and blue lights spill across the manicured lawn. Neighbors' blinds tilt. A sprinkler ticks slowly, watering nothing. Interior James's living room. Later. Detective Rodriguez, late 60s, sharp-eyed, practical, examines the scene with a calm severity. An officer photographs the table, another bags Cassandra's phone. Rodriguez: "You did the right thing calling immediately." She flips through the message threads with gloved fingers, stops, looks to Margaret. Rodriguez continued. "Marcus, know who that is?" Margaret: "No." James: measured, hollow. "I thought I knew everything." Rodriguez: "You knew what she curated. That's different." She scans another text, screenshots of bank accounts, policy numbers, balances. Meticulous, clinical. Your son's life dissected on a tiny screen. Rodriguez continued. She's been inventorying, cataloging assets, planning a trigger. Margaret's eyes flicked to the sideboard, a neat stack of forms Cassandra had set out before dinner, a ribbon of pen beside them like bait. Margaret: "The insurance beneficiary change." Rodriguez nods. Classic escalation. Sooner or later there's a life event to justify the big withdrawals. James rubs the bridge of his nose hard, fighting for air that suddenly feels rationed. James: "There were always reasons, policies, privacy, rules." I believed her. I thought it meant she was principled. Rodriguez: "It meant she was practiced." A uniformed officer approaches with an evidence bag. Officer: "Phone's unlocked, no biometrics, no passcode." Rodriguez gestures. The officer passes her a smaller bag, a slim, silver USB drive. Officer: "Found this taped under the kitchen drawer." Rodriguez raises a brow. "Of course you did." She faces Margaret and James. Rodriguez: "I'll be straight with you. The odds of recovering every dollar are low, but stopping her from moving on to the next family, those odds are better if we move fast." She looks to Margaret. "You probably saved your son's life savings tonight." Margaret doesn't flinch. She doesn't cry. She nods once, like a verdict. Interior James's kitchen, later. Evidence markers dot the counters like yellow dandelions in a perfect yard. Margaret stands alone at the back door, staring at the gap that swallowed Cassandra whole. Her reflection shivers on the glass. James steps up beside her. He's wrapped in a blanket offered by an officer, but he's still cold from the inside out.
What if she comes back? Then we'll be ready. He exhales, shaky, a man trying a new shape for the first time. Did you ever... He can't finish. Margaret reaches and squeezes his hand. I wanted to love her, so I did. That's not a crime. That's being human. A beat. James nods. It lands. Interior, living room, later. Rodriguez flips a legal pad. The page is full already. Here's what's next. Cancel pending beneficiary changes, freeze joint movement where possible, notify banks, investment custodians, will place alerts with credit bureaus. She tears the sheet and slides it to James. Rodriguez continues. Also, she taps the USB. If this contains what I think it contains, this isn't just your wife, it's an operation. A young officer returns from the porch. No secondary vehicle on the nearby streets. Cameras at Maple and 3rd. We've requested footage. Rodriguez says to Margaret, Mrs. Thompson, your attorney, Mitchell? I'd like him to coordinate with our financial crimes unit. Margaret, he's standing by. Rodriguez rises. We'll be in touch. Get some rest. Margaret glances at the table, the flowers now wilting. Her jaw sets. We'll rest after she's stopped. Rodriguez studies her, a faint, tired respect in her eyes. I've seen this before, but not often with someone as prepared as you. Be careful. Exterior James's house. Night. The cruisers pull away, the lawn returns to darkness, the street to sleepy normal. Only the porch light remains, a square of gold in a world that tilts. Interior James's living room, late night. A house stripped of pretense, lasagna untouched, wine sweating on the table like a confession. The clock ticks. James sits on the couch, elbows on knees. Margaret stands, tracking the room, the edits Cassandra made, the edits she enforced. A home remodeled into a stage set. James says quietly, "She erased me." Margaret turns to the mantel, blank. No photo of James's father, no place for James as a boy, just curated nothing. She crosses to a closet, slides open the door. Inside, 3 boxes, stacked and taped. Marker scrawl, "James, old stuff." She pulls the top one out. It's heavier than it looks. Margaret, "Then we un-erase you." She opens the lid. Inside, a college pennant, a worn leather ball, and a cracked picture frame. James, as a freshman, sunburned and loud with a future. James stares, breath tight. She said it was clutter. Margaret, "It's evidence of you." She sets the frame on the mantel, center. It sits there, defiant. Margaret, "We rebuild. Honestly." James nods again. This time the nod sticks. His phone buzzes. Robert. James says into the phone, "Yeah." He listens, then looks to Margaret, startled. He says to come first thing tomorrow. He found something else. Margaret's gaze hardens. "Then we sleep a little and make coffee strong."
The sky is a thin bruise. Margaret sits at her small kitchen table, a legal pad and 2 pens aligned. The maple outside is still. A cardinal lands, red as warning. She dials. Robert picks up on the first ring. Robert VO. "Margaret, Detective Rodriguez briefed me. Are you all right?" Margaret. "I will be. What did you find?" Robert VO. "The investigator ran the Phoenix wire you mentioned. It routes to an account under the name Blackwood. There's more. Pattern matches in Colorado and Utah. I've looped in multi-state financial crimes. They're sending a lead, Morrison. He wants to meet you and James at my office at 9. Margaret writes, "Morrison, 9 a.m. Pattern." Underlines it twice. Margaret. "We'll be there." She hangs up and stares at the word pattern until it stops being a word and becomes a shape, a trap that caught them and kept going. She flips a page and writes 3 clean lines. Freeze. Recover. Stop her. She caps the pen and exhales like a vow. Interior James's driveway. Morning. Margaret arrives to find James already waiting on the porch steps with 2 travel mugs. He looks 10 years older and 5 years clearer. He hands her a mug. Black? No sugar. Margaret. You remembered. James. I remember everything this morning. They exchange a look that says, we're not done being hurt, but we're done being fooled. Exterior downtown. Day. Traffic hums, indifferent. A bus exhales at a stop. A woman in running shoes ties her laces, unaware of how easily one life can be relaced into something unrecognizable. Interior Robert Mitchell's law office, conference room, day. The room is war-ready. Files fanned out, a whiteboard crowded with arrows, a projector screen glows. Robert, mid-60s, composed, stands as they enter. Robert. Margaret. James. He gestures to a man already at the table, Detective Frank Morrison, mid-40s, eyes like headlights on high beam. Robert. This is Detective Morrison, Multi-State Financial Crimes Task Force. Morrison nods, offers a brisk hand. Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming quickly. He taps the laptop. The screen fills with a grid: driver's licenses, wedding photos, DMV captures, candid shots. The same woman with different hair, different ages, different names, different husbands by her side. Morrison. Catherine Blackwood. Also Christine Wilson. Also Carol Warner. You're Cassandra Williams. 17 confirmed victims across 4 states. We estimate the total take at $2.3 million, likely more. The number is obscene in the quiet room. James flinches as if hit. Margaret. How long? Morrison. 9 years we can prove, maybe longer. She moves fast, marries quickly, isolates, gains access, extracts, disappears. She refines the playbook every time. He clicks. A timeline, names, dates, deposits, withdrawals. The efficiency is nauseating. James. Why stay with me almost a year? Morrison studies James with a measured sympathy. Because this time, the entry point wasn't the prize. Beat. You were. He turns to Margaret. Morrison. We believe the long-term target was you, Mrs. Thompson. Your assets, your retirement accounts, your life insurance. Your house sale was a test pull. She never got the main vein. Robert opens a folder and slides bank summaries to James. Your mother still has over $300,000 in liquid investments. Catherine knew it. She was building proximity and legitimacy to reach it.
The room chills. Margaret doesn't blink. Margaret. Then she isn't done. Morrison. No. Which is why we propose a controlled contact. James is immediate, fierce. No, absolutely not. I'm not letting you use my mother as bait. Margaret doesn't look at him. She looks at Morrison. Margaret. Explain the control. Morrison. We use a channel she trusts, one of her work references, likely a planted number. You reach out as a worried mother. No accusations, just confusion. You miss her. You want to help fix things. If she thinks there's still an on-ramp to your money, she'll surface. When she does, we shape when and where. We record, we document, we arrest. James turns to Margaret raw. Mom, she was in our house last night planning to put her name on $1 million policy. If she realizes we know everything, Margaret, plain, she doesn't. They look at each other. Both are right. Only one is ready. Margaret. She ran too fast to gather context. All she knows is we were suspicious. We keep it that way. Morrison leans forward, the room narrowing to a point. We'll never get a cleaner shot. Every day she's out, she builds a new nest, new victims, new layers. This is how we break her pattern. Robert folds his hands. Margaret, this is your decision. She lifts her chin, the same lift she used when life took her husband and left her with a boy and a mortgage. Margaret, we do it. James exhales, a sound that is both surrender and trust. James, then we do it together. Interior Robert's conference room, later. A burner phone on the table. Morrison dials a number printed on Cassandra's HR contact card, the one she offered whenever employment verification came up. It rings. Clicks. Woman, VO. Children's Hospital Human Resources. It's perfect. Warm, efficient, vaguely busy. Margaret's mouth thins. Morrison mutes, nods to Margaret. Morrison, quiet. Go. Margaret takes the phone. Her voice is tremulous by design. Hello? I'm looking for Cassandra Williams, my daughter-in-law. I can't reach her. A beat. Woman, VO. I'm sorry, I can't give out employee information. Margaret, I understand. If there's any way to get a message to her, tell her Margaret needs to see her. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I want to help fix it. Silence. Then, woman, VO. I'll pass it along. The line goes dead. Morrison smiles without warmth. Morrison.
She'll get that. Interior, Margaret's apartment, afternoon. The maple throws leaf shadows across the table. The burner phone lies between Margaret and a cold cup of tea. It buzzes. Margaret answers, steady. Hello? A breath. Then the voice she knows too well. Thinner now. Frayed silk. Cassandra Vio. Mom Thompson? Margaret closes her eyes briefly. The name is a knife and a memory and a lie. Margaret. Cassie, are you safe? Cassandra Vio. I'm so sorry. I was scared. James, he changed. He started accusing me. I didn't know what to do. Margaret lets a mother's softness bloom in her tone without surrendering a single inch. Margaret. I think we can talk. Maybe we can fix it. I want my family whole. Cassandra Vio. Could we meet? Margaret's eyes flick to the framed photo of her late husband by the window. His smile isn't advice, but it's courage. Margaret. There's a coffee shop on Marigold and 5th. 2:00. A beat too long. Cassandra Vio. Okay. They hang up. The room exhales. Margaret sets the phone down, the tremor leaving her hand the second she lets go. Interior unmarked van. Day. Establishing. Morrison briefs 2 plainclothes officers. He circles a printed floor plan of the coffee shop. Morrison. Entrances here and here. Cameras pre-placed. Audio on table 2. We keep it conversational. We keep it clean. Interior coffee shop. Day. The bell tings as Margaret enters. A neutral cardigan buttoned like armor. She chooses table 2. Sunlight spills across the wood. Her hands fold, unfold. 2 officers work on laptops at opposite corners. Morrison outside, watching through a window reflection. The door opens. She steps in with new hair, new makeup, new poverty woven neatly into her clothes. Catherine Gawkwood smiles like a confession you want to believe. Catherine. Mom Thompson. She sits. She reaches for Margaret's hands. Margaret gives them. The touch is warm and wrong. Catherine. I've been so afraid. Margaret. So have I. A server sets 2 coffees down. The cups tremble when they touch the table. Just a fraction. Catherine. James said things. He accused me. He found photos out of context. Margaret. He's hurt, but hurt makes people see ghosts. Catherine. Leans in, tears perfectly balanced on her lashes. Thank you for believing me. Margaret studies the face that fooled her, the slight delay before emotion hits, the calculated microtilts, the way she uses the word believe like a currency. Margaret. I want to. Help me. A fissure, a flicker of calculation. Catherine's eyes harden and soften so fast it feels like a blink. Catherine. There were transfers. I can explain. It looks bad, but... Margaret, to the point. Gentle. The Phoenix account. Who is Marcus? The tears vanish. A clean slate of steel slides into place. The real face. A beat, then a thin smile. Catherine. How much do you know? Margaret's answer is a blade wrapped in velvet. Margaret. Enough. She glances past Catherine's shoulder. The reflection in the window shifts. The door opens. Morrison OS. Catherine Blackwood? Catherine doesn't turn. Her jaw tightens. Morrison OS. You're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit financial elder abuse. Catherine finally looks, face drained of performance, a creature stripped of camouflage. She doesn't struggle when the cuffs close. She looks back at Margaret with something that isn't fear and isn't regret. It's promise. Catherine. This isn't over. Morrison. It is today. They take her. The bell tings again. The air settles. Life resumes its ordinary, miraculous dullness around a stopped storm. Margaret wraps both hands around her coffee. They're steady now. Morrison sits briefly across from her, voice low. We'll process her. Start the warrants. Chase the accounts. It'll be a grind. But you did it. Margaret. We started it. Morrison nods. Respect without decoration. Exterior coffee shop. Day. Margaret steps into sunlight. The sky is painfully clear. She inhales it the way you inhale after a long tunnel. Across the street, a mother ties a child's shoe. The ordinary looks like a miracle. Her phone buzzes. James. James. Is it done? Margaret. It's begun. A pause. Then his breath catches. a sound like a string loosening. James. Vio. Come home, Mom. Exterior Margaret's apartment. Evening. The maple is backlit gold. A cardinal flashes through the branches like punctuation. Margaret unlocks her door. The quiet greets her with open palms. She sets her keys in a dish. The apartment is small, bright, hers. She opens a drawer. Inside, neatly placed, the navy dress with tiny flowers. She smooths it once, almost smiling. The phone rings. Robert again. Robert Vio. Detective Morrison wants to meet tomorrow. They've connected more dots. It's bigger than we thought. Margaret. 9 a.m. I'll be there. She hangs up. The last light slides across the table where her 3 lines remain. Freeze, recover, stop her. She adds a 4th. Protect others. She sets the pen down. The camera holds on the words as the light fades.
The conference room looks less like a lawyer's office and more like a command post. Maps of states spread across the wall. Photographs of Catherine in different disguises are taped beside printouts of financial statements. Margaret and James sit opposite Detective Morrison, who has the sharp intensity of a man who hasn't slept but thrives in the hunt. Robert, calm but taut, watches them both. On the table, a folder thicker than any legal file Margaret has ever seen. Morrison, we've been digging through her trail. Catherine Blackwood, Cassandra Williams to you, isn't a lone wolf. She's part of a structure. James shifts uneasily. You mean like a ring? Exactly. She's the centerpiece, the face. But she's not the one moving money. She plays the long con, seduces, marries, extracts trust. Then someone else launders. He flips open the folder, revealing a spreadsheet, rows of names, dozens. Morrison. Our task force has confirmed 23 victims across 4 states. Financial losses over $3 million. Some recovered, most gone. James rubs his temples. Margaret sits still, her hands clasped in front of her like she's bracing for impact. What happens to the victims? Morrison glances at her, then at the list. Most don't recover. Not the money, not the marriages. Some never trust again. One man in Denver lost his retirement fund. He took his life. The words hang in the room like smoke. Margaret's jaw tightens. Then we make sure no one else ends up on that list. Interior, projector screen, continuous. A slideshow begins. Surveillance photos. Catherine, Cassandra, in a brunette wig, laughing with a different man at a cafe. Another shot, her arm entwined with a new husband outside a courthouse. James stares, transfixed and broken. That's her. That's my wife. Morrison, quietly. That's her job. The images flip faster, different identities, different husbands. The same pattern, men who looked relieved to be loved. Finally, a wire transfer trail. Thousands moving to accounts in Phoenix, Denver, Salt Lake City. Names of Marcus Blackwood, Elena Carter, David Marsh. Morrison. Marcus. He's her brother. Runs the back end. Fake accounts, shell companies. He's the one your text referred to. He looks at Margaret. The $15,000 you lost? Straight to Phoenix. He handled it. Margaret nods once, not flinching. Then we follow Marcus. Interior, law office, hallway. Later. James stands outside the conference room, gripping the railing like it's the only thing keeping him upright. Margaret steps out, joining him. James, I married a weapon. She wasn't even real. Margaret touches his arm, steady. She was real enough to wound, but she's not finished. What if they don't catch her? What if she slips away again? Margaret studies her son, her voice even. Then we'll drag her into the light ourselves.
Detective Morrison's team combs through footage. Catherine's arrest plays on loop across a laptop screen, but she's already vanished into the system, locked up pending charges. Still, Morrison looks uneasy. She's too calm, too composed. People like her don't sit in holding cells waiting to be tried. They've got contingency plans. Intel, police holding cell, night. Catherine sits on the bench, back straight, hands folded neatly in her lap. Not panicked, not broken. She looks at the security camera and smiles. Slow, deliberate. Marcus will handle it. Intel, Margaret's apartment, night. Margaret can't sleep. She sits at her kitchen table, flipping through old photographs. James as a boy holding his father's hand, their old house in the background, the house she sold because Cassandra convinced her. She writes in her notebook, "Who is Marcus? What is the network? How do we end it?" Her pen presses harder with each word until the paper nearly tears. Intel, Detective Morrison's office, next day. Maps are covered with pins, names on sticky notes, a flowchart linking Catherine to Marcus, then branching outward. Morrison briefs Margaret and James. The Phoenix account is just one branch. We've traced transfers to Belize, the Caymans, international laundering. James exhales sharply. So she's not just a fraud, she's part of something bigger. Exactly. Catherine's skill is infiltration, but Marcus, he's the architect. Margaret leans forward. Then why haven't you arrested him? Because every account is under an alias. Every alias vanishes the moment we get close. Margaret's eyes narrow. Then you need bait. Morrison hesitates, then nods. We need someone he wants to engage with, someone who still looks vulnerable. His eyes settle on Margaret. James stiffens. No, absolutely not. She already risked herself once. Marcus won't bite unless he thinks the line is fresh. Margaret's money, what she hasn't touched yet, is exactly what he'd want. Margaret meets Morrison's gaze unflinching. Tell me what I need to do. Intel, safe house, night. Margaret sits with Morrison's team. They prepare her, burner phones, code phrases, an earpiece. Tech officer. If Marcus contacts you, don't push, don't accuse, just listen. Let him believe you're confused, lonely, looking for Cassandra. Margaret nods. I've played that part before. James sits in the corner, fists clenched. This isn't theater, it's a trap. Margaret looks at him, her voice steady. Everything she did to us was theater. Now it's our turn. Intel, Federal Holding, night. A guard unlocks Catherine's cell. Visitor. Catherine looks up, curious. Marcus steps in, dark suit, calm, dangerous. You've stirred too much noise. They'll trace everything. Catherine smiles faintly. Then burn it. Move the funds. Lay low. And the old woman? Catherine leans back, eyes glinting. She's still holding. She thinks she's clever. Use her. One last extraction. Marcus nods. Consider it done. The guard doesn't notice the folded slip Marcus palms to her before leaving. Catherine smiles at the camera again. Game's not over. Intel, safe house, day. Margaret's burner phone buzzes. Unknown number. Morrison signals. She answers. Hello? A pause. Then Marcus' voice says, Mrs. Thompson, I'm Marcus. Cassandra's... Margaret's breath stills. Morrison scribbles, play along. Marcus? Thank God. Where is she? Is she safe? She's fine. She just needs help. Money. Quietly. If you can help us, we can make this all go away. Margaret forces tremor into her voice. Money? How much? Everything you can spare. Wire it to Phoenix. Tonight. Margaret glances at Morrison. He mouths, stall. I don't know. It's so much. Can we meet first? A long pause. Then Marcus's voice. Smooth as poison. Tomorrow. Noon. You bring excess, I bring Cassandra. The line clicks dead. Morrison exhales. We've got him. James looks at his mother, horrified. Mom, what have you gotten yourself into? Margaret doesn't look away. The only thing I've ever done, James. Protecting family.
The room hums with low conversation and the faint buzz of equipment. Maps cover the walls, surveillance photos spread across tables. Margaret sits at the center, her navy cardigan wrapped around her shoulders like armor. James paces near the door, restless, angry. Detective Morrison outlines the plan with a laser pointer, his voice precise. Marcus will want control. He'll choose the meeting spot, but we'll be there first. Plainclothes units, marked cars on standby. We'll wire you up, Mrs. Thompson. Keep him talking long enough, and we'll have grounds to move. James, vehemently. No. This has gone far enough. She's my mother, not your pawn. Margaret looks at him, calm but unyielding. James, if Marcus thinks I'm afraid, he'll vanish. If he thinks I'm desperate, he'll show. And when he shows, we end this. James, and if he doesn't just talk, if he... Morrison cuts in, sharp. Then we move. Fast. You'll be within arm's reach the whole time. James shakes his head, but Margaret speaks before he can. I'm not afraid of men who hide behind lies. The room goes quiet. Morrison studies her, respect in his eyes. Interior Federal Holding. Same night. Catherine lays on her cot, eyes closed, perfectly still. A guard slips a folded note into her hand during rounds. She opens it under the blanket. 4 words, scrawled in Marcus's neat handwriting. Tomorrow. Noon. Marigold. Her lips curve. Not relief. Calculation. Exterior, downtown Santa Fe. Morning. The city stirs awake. Cafes open their doors. Traffic builds. Joggers weave past commuters. Life looks normal, ordinary. Perfect camouflage. Interior, safe house. Morning. Margaret sits as an officer tapes a microphone beneath her blouse. The wire feels cold against her skin. Tech officer. Keep your voice natural. Don't fidget. We'll hear everything. She nods. Another officer adjusts the tiny earpiece. What if I freeze? Morrison. You won't. You already stared down Catherine. Marcus is just another liar with a different mask. James enters, dressed in plain clothes, a gun strapped to his hip under his jacket. He doesn't meet his mother's eyes. Let's get this over with. Exterior, Marigold Street. Noon. A modest cafe sits at the corner, painted in cheerful pastels. Outdoor tables line the sidewalk. Couples eat lunch, oblivious. Unmarked cars are scattered around the block. Plainclothes officers pose as customers. Morrison sits inside, coffee in hand, watching the glass door. Margaret arrives alone. She wears the same navy dress James once loved. It makes her look both fragile and dignified, exactly what Marcus expects. She chooses a table by the window, orders tea. Her hands don't shake, though her heart pounds like war drums. Exterior, street corner, moments later. A black sedan glides up, tinted windows. The passenger door opens. Marcus steps out. Tall, composed, dressed in a dark suit that fits too well to be ordinary. His presence is unnerving, calm, measured, predatory. He spots Margaret instantly, crosses the street with the confidence of a man who believes every move belongs to him. Interior, cafe, continuous. Margaret looks up as Marcus approaches. She forces her breath steady. He sits across from her without asking, his eyes assessing every detail. Mrs. Thompson. Finally, we meet. His voice is smooth, deliberate, a man who never wastes words. Marcus. Where's Cassandra? He smiles faintly. She's safe, waiting, but she needs help. We need help. Margaret leans forward, playing her role. I don't understand. Why did she leave? Because James discovered things he wasn't ready to hear. He twisted the story. He made her look like something she's not. He studies Margaret's face, searching for doubt. But you know the truth, don't you? Margaret forces a tremor into her voice. I want to believe her, but the money. Marcus waves a hand dismissively. Details, paperwork. What matters is family. Cassandra loves James. She loves you. She just needs support.
He slides a folded piece of paper across the table. An account number. Wire the funds today, and she comes back tomorrow. You'll have your daughter again.
Margaret glances at the paper. Her pulse races. Morrison's voice crackles softly in her ear. Keep him talking. How much? All of it. Everything you can touch. Your accounts, your retirement, liquidate it. His eyes harden. Do that, and this nightmare ends. Margaret swallows, letting silence stretch. Then she whispers, "And if I don't?" Marcus's smile vanishes. He leans in close, his voice a blade. Then James pays. Margaret's breath catches, but she holds his gaze, unwavering. Is that a threat? Marcus tilts his head. It's reality. We always finish what we start. Inside the cafe, Morrison tenses inside, his hand twitching near his earpiece. Officers outside shift position, but he signals them to hold. Not yet. Outside the cafe, James sits in a parked SUV half a block away, listening through the comms. His jaw clenches as he hears Marcus's threat. I'm going in. Negative, stay put. If he smells law enforcement too early, we lose him. James pounds the steering wheel, teeth gritted. Inside the cafe, Margaret steadies her voice, her eyes locking on Marcus. You say you want my money, but what you really want is control. Marcus smirks. And you think you can resist me? Margaret leans in, her voice suddenly cold, steel. I already have. A sharp beat. Marcus studies her. The tremor is gone. The softness evaporated. For the first time, he sees not a vulnerable widow, but a woman who has already survived worse. His expression darkens. You're smarter than the others. That makes you dangerous. Margaret doesn't blink. So arrest me, or leave. Inside the cafe, Morrison whispers into his mic. Now. Plainclothes officers move. 2 approach from outside, 1 from the kitchen. Marcus notices. His chair scrapes as he rises. This isn't over. He bolts for the door. Outside the cafe, Marcus sprints towards the sedan. Officers shout, "Police, stop!" Marcus shoves a chair into one officer, knocking him down. Another lunges, but Marcus slips past, fast, calculating every move. James bursts from the SUV, charging towards him. James! Marcus whirls, a knife flashing in his hand. The crowd scream, scattering. James freezes. The blade gleams between them. Step aside. For a moment, the street holds its breath. Margaret watches through the cafe window, her heart in her throat. Then, Morrison tackles Marcus from behind. The knife skitters across the pavement. Officers swarm, pinning him down. Marcus snarls, his composure cracking for the first time. You don't know what you're stopping. This is bigger than her, bigger than me. Morrison cuffs him, breathless but steady. Not anymore. Inside the cafe, aftermath, Margaret sits back down, finally exhaling. Her tea has gone cold, untouched. James rushes in, kneeling beside her. Are you okay? Margaret squeezes his hand. Her voice is calm. I told you, I'm not afraid of liars. Exterior police van. Street. Later. Marcus is shoved into the back of a van. He glares at Margaret through the glass, his mouth forming silent words. This isn't over. The doors slam and the van drives away. Inside safe house. Night. Morrison lays out new files on the table. We've cracked the shell companies. Marcus was right about one thing. This is bigger. Catherine and Marcus are part of a larger syndicate. Dozens of players. Multiple countries. James rubs his forehead, exhausted. So even with them both caught, it doesn't end? Morrison looks at Margaret. It depends on how far you're willing to go. Margaret leans forward, her face lit with quiet fire. Farther than they ever expected. A storm rattles the windows. The table is a battlefield of files, printouts, arrows sketched in dry erase red. Margaret sits upright, shoulders squared, hands laced. James hovers behind her chair like a guard who knows he can't stop time but will try. Detective Morrison paces, a metronome of urgency. Marcus is in custody, Catherine's still booked, but the money channels weren't theirs alone. Our warrants hit this afternoon. Belize, Nassau, Phoenix, half the accounts are already drained. He clicks the remote. On the screen, a map riddled with blinking dots connected by gray current lines. They're cutting lines as we speak. Someone's warning them. James looks at the door, as if expecting ghosts. Someone inside? Morrison, not my unit, but the syndicate will have lookouts, shell attorneys, consultants. We have to pressure the core. He turns to Margaret. We flip Catherine. A beat. The word hangs radioactive. Margaret, she won't confess out of guilt. Morrison, no, she'll confess out of self-preservation. We give her a reason to fear her own people more than prison. James bristles. And how do we do that without giving her leverage? Morrison's eyes sharpen. By showing her the one thing she didn't anticipate. He gestures to a boxed-up evidence set. An officer opens it carefully. Inside, the USB found taped under the kitchen drawer. Tech officer, we cracked it. It's not just logs, it's process, playbooks, scripts. On the screen, a tidy directory of PDFs and video tutorials. Cold, instructional. Tech officer, she recorded her method, vetted lines, timelines, psychological triggers. James's jaw locks. She kept a manual for ruining people. Morrison, it's gold for prosecutors, and a death sentence if the syndicate thinks she left it behind. Margaret exhales. Understanding clicks into place like a safe dial. So we let her see it, let her know we have it, then let her imagine what they'll do if they think she talked. Morrison, exactly. We make the safest place for her the one she doesn't want. Our side. Thunder rolls. The plan settles. Interior Federal Interview Room, morning. Catherine sits across from two-way glass, cuffed but immaculate. Even in jail khaki, she wears poise like a tailored suit. The door opens. Margaret steps in with Morrison. No theatrics, only light in the hum of bad air. Catherine's eyes flick to Margaret's face, searching for a fissure to exploit. Finds none. Cassandra, Mum, Thompson. It lands like a dare. Margaret sits. Morrison places a tablet on the table. Taps. The playbook fills the screen. Catherine's voice, Catherine's cursor, Catherine's notes. Her jaw tightens for the first time. Catherine continued. You broke my drive. Morrison. We read your book. He lets the silence sit on her skin. Morrison continued. Your brother's in holding. We'll keep him from the general population if you cooperate. If you don't, these files become part of discovery, public record. Your friends see how tidy you were. Catherine's eyes cut to Margaret. Did you enjoy it, watching my tutorials on how to make you love me? Margaret doesn't blink. I learned the part I missed, where you end. Catherine smiles, small, brittle. This is posturing. By noon, a lawyer will walk in and bury your leverage in motions. Maybe, but your lawyer can't unring fear. He taps the screen again. A list of names, victims, dates, dollar amounts. One highlighted in red. Denver, John A., suicide, 13 months after loss. For a sliver, something flashes in Catherine's eyes. Surprise? Grief? It's gone before it learns its own shape. Morrison. We're charging you with conspiracy to commit financial elder abuse, identity theft, fraud, wire fraud, and RICO. That last one is new for you. It sticks. He slides a paper forward. Cooperation agreement. You give us the top of the tree, you testify truthfully, you serve time, but your world doesn't end in a concrete box. Catherine leans back, the cuffs whisper against the table.
And what do you think I will give you, detective? Redemption? Her eyes find Margaret's, needle sharp. He was never going to marry you off, you know, James. He would have kept you as a visiting monument. I offered you a home. Margaret, I offered you a price tag. Catherine, I offered you relevance. You were so eager to be useful. You gift-wrapped your house. A scar of quiet opens. Margaret lets it exist. Then she closes it with a single sentence. Margaret, I'm useful now. Morrison folds the agreement. You have until this afternoon. They stand, Catherine's voice follows, soft and venom-laced. Tell your son, grief made him easy. That's not a sin. It's an opening. Margaret meets her gaze. Your openings are closing. They leave, the door hisses shut. Interior hallway, outside interview room, continuous. James waits, arms folded in a way that makes his body his only shield. He searches Margaret's face. James. Well? Margaret. She's calculating the size of her fear. It will take until lunch. James. And fear loses? Morrison. He checks his watch. Then we squeeze Marcus. James. He's made of stone. Morrison's mouth tilts. Stones crack under pressure, especially when you drop them on family. Interior, holding, Marcus's cell, later. Marcus sits on the edge of his cot, breathing with precision of a man who domesticated panic long ago. Morrison stands outside, file in hand. Morrison. Your sister kept a record. A flicker, barely. Marcus. You think I'm afraid of paper. Morrison. No, I think you're afraid of your boss's reading paper. He lays photos against the glass, screenshots of wires with the aliases circled, a selfie of Catherine in a brunette wig, Marcus's arm visible in a mirror behind her. Morrison. You're not the architect, you're the runner. They can replace you in a week, but you can't replace your sister. Marcus stares, flat. Marcus. What do you want? Morrison. Names, offshore custodians, the Phoenix lawyer who opened the shells. Marcus. And? Morrison. And we keep you alive long enough to testify. Marcus. Smiles without humor. You think you hold that power? Morrison. Today I do. He leaves the photos, walks away. Marcus's gaze follows the reflection of his own face in the glass until it becomes a stranger. Interior, safe house, afternoon. James stands at the whiteboard, redrawing the web, not for the case, but for his sanity. He circles us in the middle, underlines, we are not the weak link. Margaret watches him, pride and ache braided tight. Margaret. Put your name on the mantle when you get home. The photo from college, front and center. James. You sound like Dad. Margaret. He left me the stubbornness. I'm regifting. James. Almost smiles. It's small but real. An agent leans in the doorway, breath short. Agent. Morrison needs you. Now. Interior, federal interview room, afternoon. Catherine's lawyer, Mr. Dalton, 50s, expensive and bland, sits beside her, a rainstorm in a $3,000 suit. Dalton. My client is open to a proffer session. Queen for a day. Limited use of statements. Morrison. Mr. Dalton is unreadable. Only the faintest satisfaction in the stillness. Then talk. Dalton nods once at Catherine. She adjusts the seat like it's a throne she intends to keep. Catherine. I won't give you everyone, but I'll give you enough. Morrison. Start with Phoenix. A beat. Her eyes flicker to the mirror. She knows they're behind it. She speaks anyway. Her words neat. Lawyer. Ralph Pennington. Shell incorporations through a paralegal named Holt. Primary custodian is a trust officer at Helios Bank, Scottsdale branch. Maria Estevez. Weekly wire cycles on Thursdays. Belize, Cayman, back through a credit union in Nevada under a veterans charity facade. Morrison's kind moves a hair faster. Dalton watches, measuring risk in millimeters. Catherine, you'll seize some, you'll miss most, unless you take Helios in one go. Morrison, then we take it in one go. He stands.
You just invited yourself to the raid. Catherine's composure flickers. Not fear, exhilaration. She likes games. She thinks she just picked a bigger one. You'll need someone to walk you through it in real time. Morrison nods once. You'll do it on a secure line from a federal van, and you'll do it with a vest on. Dahmer bristles. Absolutely not. My client. Or she can enjoy the general population while your motions crawl. Dalton looks at Catherine. Catherine considers the mirror again and smiles. I like vans. Exterior Helios Bank, Scottsdale, night. A modern glass box, expensive light spills onto polished concrete. The sign hums quietly, unaware it's about to be cold. 3 unmarked vans idle in a loading zone. Agents check gear. Morrison reviews a clipboard under a red-lensed flashlight. In the third van, Catherine sits, belted, wired, flanked by 2 agents, hands cuffed to a waist chain. The vest makes her look smaller. Margaret is not here. James is not here, but their names are the gravity that keeps this from floating off into reckless. Morrison's phone buzzes. It's Margaret. Morrison into phone. We're on site. Margaret, VO. Bring it down. He pockets the phone, taps the Vandema twice. The world contracts to the point of entry. Screens bloom with motion. GPS dots, bank dashboards under warrant, traffic feeds. The air is electric. Hushed voices, fast typing, radios crackling in clipped code. Margaret stands with James at the back wall, 2 figures anchored my purpose. Detective Morrison moves like a conductor, vest half-zipped, mic at his collar. On the main monitor, Pierce, badge photo, and Calder, DMV capture, hover over a map. 2 blinking points on a grid of Albuquerque's industrial fringe. Morrison, to the room. 2 targets, same clock. Sierra Development Office and the warehouse on Morningside. We hit both ends, no phone calls, no delays. Everyone moves on my mark. He glances at Margaret and James. Morrison continued. You stay here. You'll hear everything. Margaret nods once. James swallows, jaw hard. Radio VO. Bravo 1 in position. Morningside rear entrance secured. Radio 2, VO. Alpha team staged in Sierra's lobby. Lights are on. Pierce just walked in. On the side screen, a grainy lobby cam. Officer Pierce, mid-40s, suit over civilian clothes, swipes a key card and ducks into a hallway. Morrison, quiet, lethal. And go. The room moves. Exterior, Sierra Development, night. A low-slung office with tinted glass and a tasteful sign, Sierra Development Group. It looks like a dental practice for money. 3 plain sedans idle at the curb. Alpha team streams through the door, silent, efficient. The receptionist startles, hands up. A tech holds a warrant under her nose as agents fan out. Interior, Sierra hallway, continuous. Boots whisper on carpet. A door at the end, trust services, clicks shut from inside. Agent. He's in. Breach. A ram thunders once. The door surrenders. Inside, Pierce at a terminal, fingers flying across keys. On screen, a secure banking portal counts down a 3-minute window for wire recall. Pierce. Come on, come on. Agent. Hands in the air. Step away from the computer. Pierce freezes, then bolts towards a side door. An agent tackles him. They hit the floor, chair skittering, a paperweight clattering to a Persian rug that doesn't belong in a small office. Agent. On your stomach. Now. Cuff snap. Another agent slides into the still warm chair and begins typing. Agent number 2. We've got a pending outbound. 3 minutes on the recall window. Need the second factor. Agent number 3. Phone already out. Bank's on with our warrant liaison. Patch the code. Exterior, Morningside, warehouse, night.
The building is anonymous. Corrugated metal, a fence, a T-slot padlock on a side door. Bravo team stacks along the wall. A bolt cutter bites. The lock drops. Inside, Calder, 50s, barrel-chested with practiced calm, stands at a folding table stacked with hard cases. He looks up once, then reaches for a phone. Agent, OS. Put it down. He does, slowly. Calder. You don't understand what you're interrupting. Agent. We do. That's why we're interrupting it. He smiles without humor, eyes flicking to a metal door in the back. His calm feels like a wick leading into the dark. Agent, into Mike. We need eyes on that rear room. 2 agents peel off. The door is locked. A pry bar sings, the frame gives. Inside, a desk, a safe, a humming rack of small servers, and a plastic tub filled with prepaid phones. A whiteboard on the wall reads, Thursday, rotation, in block letters.
We've got the hub. Imaging now. Calder watches, measuring outcomes. Calder. You're a step late. Money moves faster than people. Agent. Funny. Fear does too. Int Task Force Ops Room, same time. The room's energy tightens. On a split screen, Sierra's terminal with the 2:11 countdown, Bravo's helmet cam of the warehouse servers being bagged. Morrison leans into his mic, voice low but urgent. Morrison. Alpha, status on second factor? Alpha, VO. Bank liaison is generating a temporary. They're stalling, claims they need supervisor approval. Morrison. We have a warrant and $3 million leaving. Tell them the approval is retroactive. A tech yells from the Sierra feed. He enabled a callback confirmation. It's going to a voicemail tree we don't control. On another screen, a number pulses. Cayman VoIP. Margaret. So answer it. Heads turn. The room forgets she's not sworn. Morrison, to tech. Can we spoof the endpoint? The tech is already moving. Tech. We can intercept the call into our SIP, but we'll need a voice that passes a human gate. James steps forward instinctively, but stops. He doesn't know the phrases, the cadence of their fraud. Another voice cuts the air, smooth, precise. Cassandra VO. I do. The room swivels toward a monitor they didn't notice connect. Fedvan, secure feed. Catherine sits on a bench seat in a vest, mic taped to her neck, 2 agents flanking her. Morrison's eyes harden. Morrison. Who patched you in?
Agent in van, per your last, she's here for real time. We kept it dark until needed. A beat, then Morrison nods once. Catherine, you give us the script. 1 word off and $3 million is gone. She looks straight into the camera. For the first time, there's no performance on her face, only focus. Put me on the line. Interior, Sierra, Trust Services, continuous. The callback timer blinks, 1:28. An agent hands the Sierra desk phone to a tech. He routes it through a laptop, fingers flying. The ring sings into the ops room and the van and the Sierra office all at once. Voice, VO. Helios offshore verification? Catherine speaks and the room chills. She inhabits a cadence that has lied to 100 men without blinking. Catherine verification, Delta 4, Pierce confirming reversal on Sierra's legacy disbursement. This is a grace request from the primary. We'll roll late cycle instead. A breath. The voice on the other end is trained to smell confidence. Routing phrase. Catherine's eyes tick up, counting invisible instructions. Sunset over Pennington, halt the tide. The room goes still. Voice, VO. Secondary code? Catherine doesn't blink. 0714. In Sierra, the terminal shrugs and accepts. Callback complete, and a new button lights. Recall funds. Agent at the terminal. We're green. Alpha, VO. Recall initiated. On the big screen, numbers flow backward. An artery clamps. The countdown halts at 53 and vanishes. A ragged exhale rolls through the room. James turns toward the van feed, toward Catherine. He doesn't speak. He nods once, gratitude like a scar. Catherine closes her eyes a beat, When she opens them, she's just a woman in a van again. Check the shadow drop. Calder's safe. He keeps hard tokens in case the callback fails. Bottom shelf, false back. The hinge is on the right. Morrison is already transmitting. Bravo. Confirm safe structure? Bravo. Hinge right. We see the seam. A pry bar bites. The false back pops. Metal tins clatter onto the desk. Tiny keys to locked doors around the world. Bravo. VO. Continued. Hardware tokens, 30 plus. Morrison. Bag every one. Photo each serial. He turns to the room. Morrison continued. We just cut a vein. Margaret exhales, a sound that might be a prayer or an oath. James sits because his legs won't argue anymore. Exterior Sierra parking lot later. Pierce is let out in cuffs, head down, the cocksure line of insider advantage erased. A camera crew pulls up, too soon. Someone tipped them. An agent blocks the lens with a palm and a badge.
Officer Pierce, did you leak sealed warrants? He keeps walking. Interior Morningside warehouse, later. Calder leans against the table while an agent catalogs the cases. Cash, contracts, a ledger written in a tidy, almost feminine hand. The ledger hums with names like an indictment's overture. Calder. You think you've won something. You haven't met the broker. Agent. Save it for your arraignment. Calder. Soft, almost kind. You'll hear the names soon. Interior Task Force Ops Room, night. Evidence bags pile up. A courier takes custody of the hardware tokens. The bank liaison confirms on speaker. Funds frozen, pending forfeiture. A win that sounds like a sigh. Morrison strips his vest. The room's volume drops in the way of post-battle adrenaline. He looks to Margaret and James. Morrison. We'll claw back a lot. Not all, but a lot. Margaret nods. Relief doesn't reach her eyes. She's watching the van feed, where Catherine sits very still, wrists cuffed. A thought moves through Margaret's face like weather. Margaret. Keep her alive. Morrison meets her gaze. That's the plan. A young analyst sprints in, waving a printout. Analyst. Hit on the charity's board. One more alias. Ralph Pennington is counsel of record and donor relations for a widow's fund. Robert, the attorney, has been standing quietly in the back. He steps forward now, voice steady with anger. That's the same Pennington who opened the shells Catherine named. He's the pipeline. If we squeeze him, Morrison, we find the broker. He keys his mic. Morrison continued. Move Pennington now. No courtesy calls, no heads up. If he sneezes near a shredder, arrest him for littering. A ripple of dark laughter, then movement. Interior federal van, moving. Night. Catherine watches streetlights streak by. The two agents beside her relax fractionally. The worst of the chase feels over. The driver's radio hisses. Dispatch. Delta 7, reroute to holding, South Annex entrance. North gate is overcrowded. The driver nods, turns. The van slows at a light. A pickup rolls through the intersection too slow. Its bed piled with construction gear, a strap flaps loose. Agent front seat. Eyes up. The pickup clears. The van moves. A motorcycle glides into the lane behind them. Matte black, two riders, helmets down. Agent rear. We've got tails? The driver glances in the mirror. Driver. Probably nothing. The bike falls back, then surges. The passenger raises an arm. A spark pops against the van's rear door. Metal pings. Agent rear. Shots! Shots fired! The van lurches. The driver swears, yanks the wheel, dives for a side street. The bike sticks like a wasp. Catherine flinches as a second ping sings, then a harder thud. Rear tire shredded. Driver. We're losing rubber! Brace! The van fishtails, kisses a curb, rights itself, limps forward. Agent rear.
Dispatch, Delta 7 taking fire, 5th and Renner, requesting immediate units. The bike pulls alongside. The passenger reaches for the latch. Catherine stares at the hand clawing for the door, the black visor with nothing human behind it. Something old returns to her face. Raw, animal choice. She throws her cuffed hands forward, shoulder ramming the door just as the latch clicks. The door pops inward instead of out. The passenger's grip slips. He bangs against the panel and loses a second he can't buy back. The front agent draws and fires through the door seam, 2 controlled shots. The bike wobbles, screams away. Sirens rise. The van bucks to a stop on a side street, smoke from the tire curling into the night. Interior Task Force Ops Room, continuous. Alarms chirp across the board. A red square flashes Delta 7 distress. Morrison's head snaps toward the dispatcher. Dispatch. Delta 7 under fire, 5th and Renner. Officers okay, vehicle disabled. James grabs the back of a chair. Margaret doesn't move. Her face empties and then reassembles itself into something harder. Margaret, they tried to kill your witness. Morrison is already moving. They tried to kill their liability. He points at a map. Morrison continued. Roll a marked convoy, 2 units behind, 1 ahead, and get her out of a van, straight to a federal floor. No more transfers in the dark. He turns to Margaret and James. We're almost there, but they're going to get messy now. James, let them. We're done hiding. He looks at his mother. She nods once. A pact. Exterior side street, night. Blue light strobe. Officers form a perimeter. An EMT checks Catherine's temple, just a bruise. She watches a tow hook bite the van's rear axle. Her voice, when it comes, is small and real. Cassandra, do I get a different car next time? The agent beside her almost smiles. You get a different life if you keep talking. Catherine looks past him, up at the slice of cold sky between buildings. She nods. Interior federal holding, secure floor, later. A heavy door closes with a final resonant thud. Catherine sits in a windowless interview room, wrists uncuffed for the first time since the coffee shop. A sandwich, untouched, sweats on wax paper. Margaret stands at the glass with Morrison. They watch, not like spectators, but like people looking at a necessary thing. Margaret. She could have let them open the door. Morrison. She might be picking a side. He glances at Margaret. Morrison continued. You did that. Margaret doesn't answer. She's looking at Catherine like someone evaluating a stranger for the last time. Interior Pennington Law Office, same time. Agents sweep through glass and leather. Ralph Pennington, silver hair, perfect tie, stands with his hands outstretched as if he can hold back a tide with taste. A framed mission statement, integrity and counsel, tilts as an agent bumps the wall. On his desk, a donation plaque. Widow's Hope Fund. Agent, Ralph Pennington, you are under arrest for conspiracy and money laundering. Pennington breathes through his nose, that slow elite trick of pretending oxygen is a pedigree. Pennington, you've made a mistake. Agent, we like making those when they end in prison. They cuff him. A junior associate watches from an office doorway, stunned. He clutches a notebook, knuckles white. Interior Task Force Ops Room, late night. The room exhales and inhales at once. A wall fills with booked stamps. Pierce, Calder, Pennington. A new column reads recovered, with numbers that might make a judge sit up. Morrison runs a hand over his face, then taps the last empty square on the board. Broker. He's the one who survives regime change. He'll try to buy a path out. Violence, money, both. We stay tight. Robert steps up with paperwork. Restitution hearing is calendared. With what you've recovered, Margaret could see 60% back, more if Pennington flips. James looks at his mother. The relief that lands now is different. It's not money, it's witness. We're getting pieces of our life back. Margaret nods. The pieces are enough. An analyst raises a hand, tentative. Analyst. We pulled a name from Calder's ledger. Single entry, recurring retainer. No alias, just a symbol. And a code name. Broker. Payment location rotates, but tomorrow's date? It's local. An art storage unit on Osage. The room stills. Morrison. He's cashing out, or paying someone to run. He looks at Margaret and James, the civilians who refused to be just that. Morrison. We end it tomorrow. Margaret's eyes find the corner of a whiteboard where someone scrawled, "Finish it," in red. She breathes in like she's gathering a storm into her ribs. Margaret. Then let's finish it.
Interior. Task Force Ops Room, dawn. The night has not ended, it has merely shifted colors. Coffee cups litter desks, screens glow pale. On the board, broker, circled in red. Morrison briefs the room, his voice clipped, precise. Osage Art Storage, retainer scheduled, codename broker. We assume he's cautious, armed, and insulated. This is the head of the snake. He glances at Margaret and James, who stand shoulder to shoulder. Morrison continued, You stay behind the perimeter. That's not a suggestion. Margaret nods, but her eyes don't promise compliance. James notices. Exterior, Osage Art Storage, night. Rows of climate-controlled warehouses stretch silent under sodium lamps. The building is blank, anonymous, the kind of place designed to disappear while being in plain sight. Unmarked vans idle. Agents move into position. Radios crackle in low code. Morrison signals. Teams fan out. Interior storage unit, same time. The broker is already there. A man in his late 50s, gray suit, no tie, hands gloved. His presence is understated, but absolute. On the table, a leather case, a ledger, and a stack of cash bricks wrapped neat. Two men flank him, bodyguards. They scan the shadows without nervousness because nervous people don't last around the broker. He checks his watch. Precise. Every gesture is choreography. Exterior, perimeter, continuous. Margaret and James sit in an SUV with an agent. Through the windshield, they see shadows moving in tactical rhythm. James drums his fingers. He's just a man, one man. Margaret shakes her head. No, he's the reason one woman knew how to erase you. Interior storage unit, continuous. The door groans. A figure enters. Calder, still cuffed but escorted by agents. He's wired. The broker barely looks at him. Broker. You're late. Calder. Got delayed. The broker studies him with eyes that measure lies like weight. Then he gestures to the case. Broker. Your retainer. You'll move assets before noon. Taman cycle only. Calder nods, sits. His hands tremble just enough for the broker to notice. Broker continued. Why are you shaking? Calder. Too much coffee. The broker tilts his head. Then his gaze shifts to the door seam. Broker. We're not alone. Exterior storage row. Same time. Morrison whispers into his mic. He's sniffing. Move now. Teams surge. Interior storage unit, continuous. The door bursts. Agents flood. Flashlights blind. Agent. Federal Task Force. Hands where we can see them. The broker doesn't flinch. His bodyguards lift weapons, but they're dropped in a half-second of chaos, pinned under agents. The broker raises his hands, calm, as if conceding a chess match he never wanted to finish.
You're early. Interior Task Force Ops Room, later. The broker sits cuffed in a glass interview box. His suit is unwrinkled, his hair immaculate. His silence is heavier than most people's shouting. Morrison stares at him across the glass. We got him. James exhales like he's been holding his breath for months. Margaret only leans closer to the glass. That's the man who thought my son was an opening. Her voice trembles once, not from fear, but fury. Interior interview room continuous. Morrison sits across from the broker. A recorder hums. Your network's done. Catherine flipped. Marcus flipped. Calder flipped. The broker watches him like one watches an ant crawl. Networks don't end. They adapt. Morrison smirks. So do we. The broker leans back. You'll seize some accounts, parade some names, but the architecture, that lives beyond your reach. He leans forward, his eyes boring through the glass where Margaret and James watch. Do they know that their tragedy was only one file in a drawer? That Catherine was a minor actress in my play? Margaret stiffens. Morrison notices. Tell me about the architecture. The broker smiles faintly. No, but I'll tell you this. You can kill a con. You can't kill hunger. There will always be another widow, another son, another trust waiting to be drained. He sits back, silent again. Interior, safe house, night. Margaret sits at the table, James across from her. The legal pad lies between them, its final page scarred with words. Freeze, recover, stop her, bring them, finish it. James studies it. Do you think it's finished? Margaret looks at him. Her eyes are tired, alive, unbroken. No, but we're finished being prey. She rips the page free, folds it, slips it into her purse. Interior, courtroom, 6 months later, day. Light pours through tall windows, reporters crowd benches. Catherine sits at the defense table, looking diminished but composed. Marcus beside her, hollow, Calder further down, eyes resigned. The broker is absent, awaiting federal trial in another state. Margaret sits in the gallery with James. She wears the navy dress. She does not look at Catherine. The judge gavels. Restitution orders are read. Millions seized. Assets redistributed. Margaret's share recovered. Enough to start again. Not all, but enough. James leaned in close. It's over. Margaret shook her head gently. No, it's accounted for. That's different. Exterior, Margaret's new house, evening. Smaller, warmer, the garden is alive. Tomatoes, roses, herbs, a maple tree planted in the yard. Margaret and James sit on the porch with coffee mugs. The sky is painted gold. Do you regret it? Helping them? Margaret sips, then sets the mug down. I regret believing someone else's dream mattered more than my life, but I don't regret loving. She looks at her son. That's how they fooled us, because love is supposed to feel like risk. James leans back, eyes moist. So what now? Margaret smiles faintly. Now we live, honestly. Interior, community center, day. Margaret stands before a small group, widows, retirees, young professionals, a projector screen behind her. Fraud awareness workshop, protecting families. She tells her story plainly, without flourish. The pain, the loss, the fight, the survival. People listen rapt. Some cry, some take notes. Margaret V.O., if I have one lesson, it's this. Trust is a gift, not a currency. Spend it wisely. And if someone asks you to sell your life to prove your love, don't. Exterior, Margaret's garden, sunset. Margaret waters the maple. James helps stake it. The air is quiet, healing. Her phone buzzes. A text from Robert. Final restitution check cleared. 62% recovered. Congratulations. She sets the phone down on the porch rail, watches the cardinal land in the tree. Her smile is small, real. Interior, prison, night. Final image. Catherine sits alone in her cell. The noise of prison hums outside. She opens a folded scrap of paper smuggled in her jumpsuit. The broker's handwriting, elegant and sharp. This isn't the end. Catherine stares at it, her eyes unreadable. Then she folds it again, hides it beneath her mattress.